So I'm here with my good buddy Daniel Meng. Daniel, it's your second time on the show. Thanks for coming back. I wanted to have you on, or we wanted to have you on, partly because we're doing this event that you may or may not have heard about. It's the PGI, the Profitable Gym Intensive, January 24th, and yeah, we're super excited to have Daniel with us that day. So we wanted to bring him on just to chat about some really cool topics today. So Daniel, Merry Christmas. This is Christmas week.
Yes.
And I know I actually stayed at Daniel's house one time during Christmas, and I can vouch that he is a fan of Christmas, to say
I
the
am.
least.
Yes. Yes. I definitely do it up. I do it up. I got that from my mom. She did the same thing. So
That's
lots
awesome.
of good memories growing up.
Yeah, I love it. Well, there's a couple topics. You and I have talked a little bit planning this short time together, just to try to share value. Talk a little bit about the event, maybe a little bit more towards the end, like what makes it different, all that good stuff. But for now, there's definitely something interesting. I think our stories are different, but there are some similarities. You and I met. Man, how long ago was that? Was that 10 years ago?
2016.
Okay, so
Yeah.
yeah, right around 10 years ago we met, and my details might be slightly off, but not really. I remember Daniel started off doing private training, so private one-on-one, and there was there were some ups and downs, just like any other business. But I was pretty much there the whole shift, switching from that model. I had come from like I did one-on-one like way back in the day, but with the business that I built and sold, which is the other commonality, we were doing large group at first.
Yep.
And so I had switched from large group to small group, and Daniel was switching from one-on-one to small group, which was kind of really interesting to see the differences there. They both had their own challenges and some benefits along the way.
Yeah.
I think there's the perfect middle is the small group, right? Because for the one-on-one people, there's still sort of that one-on-one attention to a certain degree, and then large group, there's the community, and there's still that for so it's kind of cool thing to see on both sides.
Correct. 100%. Yeah. And there's definitely nuances and strategies you have to make on both ends of that spectrum if you're going to change into the middle. You have to do it very strategically,
Yeah.
which we both did.
Yeah, cool. So what I want to get into, there's a couple of points that I do want to hit, and one is this idea of selling the business, selling the gym. Something again that we have both done. Very different stories on that, but you and I were in pretty good communication like throughout that whole process. And what I want to make sure doesn't happen is that people get lost and think, well, I just started my business. This is not really an issue for me. Or maybe you've been in the business for years and you're totally content. You have no plan to sell your business. This stuff we're talking about, whether it's on this podcast or at the event, is very relevant because I'll reference the book because I think this is one of the most common cited books for this idea of like working on your business, making it sellable. And it was called The E-Myth Revisited. I've mentioned that many times on this show. It's Michael Gerber.
Yep.
I read it when I started. So recommend that book. But either way, he talks about the idea of most people get in the business. They are technicians. So in this case, you are a good trainer or coach, and they think that's what the business is. But when you get into it, you realize that's like on the lower end of the of the things you have to do. So it's really interesting. So he argues that you build your business like it's going to be sold, like it's even going to be franchised, so that you can build a really powerful vehicle for financial gain and for ultimately if you do want to sell, it's nice to have that option.
100%. I mean, that's brilliant. It's smart. I don't think most people do that, but it's what they should do. And 100% to your point, sometimes you don't know or don't think you're going to sell it until maybe just things change, something happens in your life. You never know, and then you're scrambling, right? And it's really hard to reverse that engine rather than
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I think that happened to both of us, right? Like, I don't think either one of us had that plan. Just life has a funny way of maybe not for you, but so I'll speak for
I
myself.
probably had a end goal. I thought it wasn't attainable, to be frank. I mean, I just
That's
didn't think because I'd heard that so many times from gym gurus that,
yeah,
little mom and pop training studios don't have much value. And I
yeah.
think, based on your point, most of them don't based on how they are built.
Yeah, yeah. I'll say for me, it's something interesting to think about because I want to make sure that's accurate. I mean, I'll definitely say that the timing was not something I had planned. I just my
Right.
I'm not gonna get, this is not about my whole story, but yeah, it definitely happened in a way that I would not have predicted or not have expected. So yeah, just to kind of reiterate your point, even if you don't think you want to sell it, like hey, you never know. Maybe it's because you don't really think it's possible, and then you start putting some things together, and now it's happening like more and more. You're right about that. The gurus saying it's a cash flow business, and that's all it is. You'll never sell it, and it's just not. It's not true. One other point that I think is interesting. There's another author I'll reference named Keith Cunningham, and he's good. And it's kind of weird to kind of argue against him because he's like this like legend in the business accounting world. He argues that, and I'm not going to quote him, but it's essentially the idea that it doesn't really make sense to sell a business because the reason that a business is sellable is because it's producing significant cash flow without the owner being involved. So therefore, if it's kicking off X amount of cash every month and every year, then why in the world would you sell it? And I just think it's so interesting because you and I have not talked about this before, and I know there is an argument there, and it is valid
100%. Yes.
until you, yeah. So yes, and until you actually do it, and then you see like how that it's interesting. Like a book is different than reality, right? Because I struggled with that as well, having a business that was producing cash flow for me, being 1,000 miles from the facility. Like, why in the world would I ever sell that? But there is another side to that, right? And this is the reality, and that's one thing I do like about you, Daniel, is that you're very genuine, and there is a cost. Like you're probably not going to hear that from a lot of people, right? Because it's not necessarily so sellable. But this idea that you have this thing that you never have to think about, that's like producing an insane amount of cash. It's like it's not reality. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
And yeah, I mean, to hear that, I understand his point.
Yeah.
But in a vacuum, that makes sense. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't make sense in real life for so many reasons. Number one, there's no such thing as a business you don't think about. That's for one,
No.
right? So,
Yeah.
so the mental energy, the weight, the burden, depending on your life, where you're at. If
Mm-hmm.
you're 1,000 miles away, in your case, in mine, I was 500 miles away
Wow.
once I did it. Um, if there are things that fall, you're going to get sucked back in. So that's where my
Mm-hmm.
mindset was. I'm like, is my business running? Yes. Is it producing cash flow? Yes. Do I need to be there? Yes. Or no? No, I do neither. No.
Yeah.
It made a ton of sense for me to keep it, but I knew that it would just be a couple dominoes that fell
Mm-hmm.
that would either make it not anywhere near as valuable or
Mm-hmm.
pull me somehow back in, and I couldn't do it based on where I was living at that
Man,
point.
that's so interesting. And if we had more time, I would kind of dig more into that because there's so much behind that. There's like wisdom there. There's probably counsel that you've had. There's prayer. Like a lot goes into that. And that's a good example of there's not necessarily like a formula, like a right answer. There's just a lot of different factors, your vision, your family, what you want. There's so much to that. So it sounds like it was really thoughtful. But the other thing that does come up a lot is and we'll talk more about this in Florida, but what are the things like if I'm wanting to either, even if it's just having the option, I want to have the option. I think it's pretty safe to say that if you have a business that is fully dependent on you doing everything in the business, you probably don't have something that's as valuable as you might think. I mean, I don't know. We could talk numbers and say if it's normally 3 to 4 profit multiple, then you're nowhere near that if you're doing everything, because there's a safe assumption that the business will not be the same without you. And I'll just say this, because I think this is also like super fascinating. It's the idea of you have to work on your business. You have to work on your business. I think like the pendulum can get swung too far either way, and I've done that because I'm like too literal. That's one of my issues. Is like I'll hear something and I'll say, okay, like I could never do anything in my business, and then I'm looking at guys that have businesses that are like 50 times bigger than mine, and they're doing stuff in the business, and the guy who is preaching this wrote a book which is the epitome of working in something. He's writing a book every day, right? So it's like we have to take this stuff with a grain of salt, and we can talk about ratios like in and on, and I have thoughts on all that, but saving that for now. What comes up for you around that as far as the on the business and the in the business thing?
I do have a lot of, we could talk all day about this, but I think that it's real easy for business owners, and in particular, we'll focus on gym owners because that's what this podcast is focused on. And that's what we are, we're. But at the end of the day, it's real easy to get sucked into all those different things and feel like, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? Well, I'm not working on the business enough.
Yeah,
blah, blah, blah.
That's good.
A lot of business owners don't even know really what that means. Now, secondly, the other point, and what I mean by that is they don't know what the specific things that they need to do to work on their business to move the needle. That's where so they keep seeing these things and feel like I'm failing. Maybe they're not. The second point I would make with that is we're not all the same. To your point, some people, their bucket is filled by doing some of those things working in their business. You have to make a decision for yourself. What is it you want in life, right? So it's like if this fills your bucket working in your business and you can still work on it and it's still profitable and you don't have intention to sell, there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But if you're like, hey, I want to move towards a certain place, and that is me potentially being out of this, et cetera, then you have to be able to peel yourself out of there and put systems in place that move your business forward without you. Because it's not, to your point, if you're doing everything, your business really isn't a business at all. So it's not saleable in that case.
I like that, and there's not necessarily something wrong with that. The only time something's wrong with that is if you think it's something that it's not, right? So it's yeah. So it's good to have that awareness, live in reality, and we have all these examples. Like there's I don't know, a friend of mine is an anesthesiologist, and she makes it's like is that bad because she's trading her time for money? It's like probably not.
Right. Good point. Yeah. It's so different for every single person. And I think at the end of the day, you have to make the right decision for you. I think and this is true in all facets of life, is when expectations don't match reality. It's the same thing with our clients, right? If they come in and they expect all these results with very little effort, I always told clients, I'm like, if your expectation's here and you're willing to put in here, you're always going to ram your head into the wall. You're going to be disappointed, frustrated. You'll be looking for a different trainer, a different gym, etc. We've got to bring the expectations in line with what we're willing to do. And so I think sometimes that is helpful for gym owners. If they think they've got a valuable asset, do they? I mean, that's where, having someone else look at it from a different lens can help them understand, hey, do I actually have a saleable asset, or do I need to make some changes?
That's good. One of the things I think I've referenced this book on like the last few recordings. I'm still reading it, and it just comes up a lot. And that's the book's called Essentialism. And there's other books like this, and it's the idea that I think Oprah Winfrey said we can do anything we want, but we can't do everything we want.
Sure.
And I think that comes into play here because I working with a lot of people and just seeing lots of stories. And I think not that we were perfect, but I think one of the things we did do when you're looking to go this route is realize like what are those, and again, there's no magic number, whether it's the one thing, the two things, the three things, but what are those? It's definitely not 16 things, right? What are the small amount of things you need to put your energy, you need to put your focus, and this is assuming you do want to like remove yourself to a certain extent. If you're training, and that's the big one, right? If you're training, I mean, I have people, training, I don't know, like 30 something, hours a week. And man, that's a lot of energy, bandwidth, time. If you're doing that, so this is where that pendulum gets swung a little bit too far to end the business. If you don't want to be, how can you do that and lead a team and be on top of your numbers and focus on the systems, developing the systems, the sales process? And I know like you and I at this stage we're in is like, what about the other stuff in life? Right. There's also kids and
that can't. Period.
Yeah, because we're human.
And I know both of us were in those shoes. I remember vividly being in those shoes at one point. And it wasn't feasible. And until I really accepted that and got over the fear of thinking that, gosh, if I pull myself out of training, all my clients are going to leave, right? In the training industry, in the way that most people get into this, you are a trainer, you work somewhere individually, you're really good, you develop a following, you decide, hey, I should open my own place. That's the next logical step. I'll make more money. Unfortunately, that's not always the truth. Yeah. There's a whole other set of responsibilities that trainers aren't ready for. But you're stuck being that guy, the superstar in your gym, where you have to transcend that to become the leader of a team. You have to teach what you know to coaches. You have to help them to, and this sounds bad, and I don't mean it in any negative way, but very rarely are they going to be you. They're not going to be you. But if we can get close, and then you take away some of that attachment to the owner, it's all possible. I mean, I did it, you did it. Yeah. It's just really hard to see in the moment. That's
good. And this is a good segue to the other point I wanted to make. But that reminds me, there was a time where, and this is another thing, I talk about this with money, is that it's not always linear. Because full transparency, I was at a point, and this is when you and I were, I don't know, we've been close for a long time, but there was a point where we were like really close. You and I were like talking like, I don't know, like very regularly, like, on different things that were happening. And there was a point where I was arguably too far pulled out, where I would sometimes think like I want something to do. It was an identity thing. Like, I don't feel like I'm important. I feel awkward in my own gym, and that doesn't feel good. And like, it's not always like unicorns and rainbows. Like, there were times where I kind of craved, and I'm not proud of this, but I like being needed. I like clients thinking that, I have, great workouts and whatever else. So my point in saying that is that it wasn't always linear. So I got to that point. Then, I mean, the big thing that happened was COVID. COVID happened. And then after COVID, especially the sales position, I got much more pulled back into. But there was a point where I was talking to a coach that I had, because you and I have both had coaches. We also talk about that. And I was struggling because I'm a numbers guy, and I'm looking at the math. I'm like, I can't remember exactly, but let's say like an 80% close rate, and I can bring in X amount of revenue, and this other person, like, they're nowhere near that, and they're gonna, like, the sales were worth, I don't know, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, and they're gonna lose the sale, and that's like, I can't stomach that. And so the coach told me, like, there's really no alternative. Like, you're either going to always be doing it, or you have to go through a process. And it's the same thing with training. That was just an example, right? Yeah, they're gonna. I mean, I had one guy like do too much, and a woman hurt her knee, and like, again, that's definitely not ideal. Yeah. But that's how we learn, and they're never going to learn if they don't go through that. They're not going to grow. You're not going to grow. So at some point, you do have to accept the idea there are great ways to do it, and there's great ways to train people. Yeah. But think about anything you've ever done, like in the beginning. you probably had a curve, right?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but I will say that for me, that I had to release the control, which is
Mm-hmm.
not natural for me. Just my
Mm-hmm.
personality, probably similar to you.
Mm-hmm.
I had to release this idea of perfection, right? Because I
Mm-hmm.
knew my experience and time and energy and all these things had gone into this. So that was a tough thing for me to do, Billy, but it was what took my business to the next level. When I released this, it has to be perfect.
Yeah, it's
It
awesome.
has to be my way. And
Yeah, it's awesome.
in a group.
That's awesome, and it's like so relatable to so many areas. But that was the segue I was talking about was the idea, and this is again we have all these topics that can be so much bigger, and that's the idea of change,
Yeah.
because I think we could all agree that the gap that any of us have, I mean, for the most part, is not a lack of information, right?
Yeah.
I'm listening to this. I know that I'm not going to be able to sell my gym for $1 million if I'm doing all the sessions, and so I know that. So that's not the issue, right? I know what I need to do, and we talked about this as like our clients. I remember hearing Martin Rooney say this. He's like, your clients know that an apple is healthier than a bag of potato chips.
Right.
Like you don't need to go into all that science of it. Like it's like a lot of stuff we just know, but change is hard, and I think we can just start there, right? Change is hard for our clients. It's hard for us.
Yeah.
There were some things you said you had to get over that control. It didn't happen overnight. So yeah, it's challenging. I just want to kind of open that up. Really, there's not like necessarily like a because it's kind of it'd be kind of silly for us to be like, okay, in the next 3 minutes we're gonna share with you, the one thing that's gonna like change your whole life, and that's all BS.
I think where my mind goes when you talk about this is number one. I just think that we need to relax the pressure that
Mm-hmm.
that owners, business owners, gym owners feel on themselves on the day to day
It's
based
good.
on what they hear. Right? There's not a one size fit all. I do think there's huge benefits to having a coach, someone in your corner that's kind of helping guide you. And again, not guiding you with what the coach thinks needs to happen, but
Yeah,
guiding you to where you want to go and what
it's good.
steps need to happen. Um, that's kind of the first thing I'll say. With regards to behavior, I'll say this. This is more human psychology, but we drift towards what's comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what clients do. That's what we do as business owners. It's like we'll hear something. I need to do this. I need to do this. Next thing you know, you've got a list of things that's 100 miles long that you need to do. You don't do any of them. You end up drifting back. You're like, well, I know this. This is what's comfortable. I'm making money or a little bit. I'm fine. And you just never really get to that next level. And I feel like to me, that's where you may not ever fully change your behavior, but if you can have a coach that just keeps nudging you down the path, that's where, I mean, to me, it depending on where you want to go,
It's
you know,
good.
that's
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't have too much to add to that. I mean, I think the coaching is huge. Why is the coaching so huge? A couple reasons. One is there is some level of structure provided, and I think that's big. There's a process I do in my with my fractional CFO clients, and I realized that things were good, but it would always be a little overwhelming, a little stressful. And sure enough, I have a coach in that area, and
yep.
he helped me develop a structured process. And what's interesting, and this happens a lot, is like after I learned it, I was kind of like kicking myself, like, duh. Like it's
Yeah,
usually not that complex. It was
no,
literally like sit down and think about what you want to do. Like it was like nothing complicated, right?
it
But
rarely is. It rarely is. Sometimes you just can't see it. And it's like
yeah,
one sentence and you're like, oh my gosh, that's so obvious. How do I not
yeah,
see that?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's the
that's,
structure and there's the accountability, which we all believe in as
yeah,
coaches for our clients. And then for me, there's been just encouragement. There's just been somebody to like we don't get to talk about this stuff with a lot of people, especially that are skilled and know how to listen, know how to ask questions. So yeah, I mean that's really really valuable. This idea that we grow with other people, you're probably not going to be able to do this on your own. And that's not like saying anything negative about, it's just the way we're wired, right? So,
Right. And I think that, sometimes, I know men in particular, I'm not zeroing them in, but men just have a hard time asking for help, right?
mm-hmm.
So, and they don't feel like they should. So it's like knowing that that's okay, and knowing that you'd be like, it is. As a business owner, I remember years before I did ask for help, I felt like I was on an island, and you hear that
Mm-hmm.
all the time, but you
Yeah.
really do. You can't necessarily talk to your friends. They may not fully get it if they're not business owners.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain things you can't talk about with certain people, and once you're able to, man, it releases a pressure. It
Yeah.
releases a pressure, and you don't feel like, hey, I have to do all this. I have to make all these decisions by myself.
It's good.
It's pretty overwhelming.
It
It can.
is. Yeah. The other thing that came up for me was maybe it's my age now, but just to encourage people, there's like this idea of your people. This is good for like just all these different scenarios, but people are working towards pleasure. Like I want something better, but they're also running from pain. And I
Yep.
think that's a big motivator. It's like, do you want to be spinning your wheels for 5 years? Because you and I we're not in our 20s anymore, and it's like we realize that those years are extremely valuable. Like being able to do this a year, 2 years, 5 years ahead of schedule is
Yes.
like crazy in terms of financial and impact and all the things that we want to do. You gave a perfect analogy there
The
of
years sneak up on you
they do.
quick.
They do. They do. But you gave a perfect analogy about the getting help. I thought of this like the stereotypical guy that's driving around in circles and he's not willing to ask for directions.
Right.
So you could do that all day, or you could realize that time is just never coming back, and I could get the help that I need. I could move forward. So yeah, that's the deal there. And I can't think of a better opportunity if it makes sense for you to be with us in Orlando on January 24th. I'm not going to go into all the different details about it, but it's pretty straightforward. It's a 1 day event. It's super small, so you're going to get all the attention you need for all the problems you want to work out, and it's a safe place. Sharing those struggles, sharing those fears, sharing those challenges, and we'll just walk you through things. We'll be with you. We're not going to beat you over the head with things, but we'll help you where you're at and guide you. We're going to have a lot of fun. It's a beautiful area that we're going to be in, and I couldn't be more excited. And Daniel, I mean, just to have your experience, your knowledge, your wisdom there in the room. I mean, I'm thankful for you and your sacrifice to do that. And yeah, I think you're missing out big time if you miss this opportunity, because it's going to be a great room.
I'm excited. I'm excited. I appreciate you including me in it, and I'm really excited. I still, as I told you this the other day, I mean, my background was a trainer for all those years. I still get jazzed up just
Yeah.
helping people make change in their life. Whatever that looks like for them, everyone's different, but that fills my bucket.
Awesome. So thanks, Daniel. And just check the link in the show notes for that. I didn't want to just go into all the weeds on this part, but check out the link. If you're not looking at it and you're listening, you can go to my website and there's a link to it from there. So that might be an easy way to go if that works for you. So it's yourfitnessmoneycoach.com, and there's a pop up that brings you right to it. So get yourself registered. We're recording this the week of Christmas, and it will be released within the early bird. So it's a great opportunity to actually save some money. It's a tax write-off. So go ahead, check it out, and we'll look forward to seeing you there.
Awesome. Thank you, Billy.